Admiral Kate Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance and watched the impossible sight through the massive viewscreen. 30 golden ships had appeared from nowhere just beyond Earth's moon, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. The alien vessels gleamed like polished metal in the sunlight, their hulls covered in strange patterns that seemed to shift and move when she looked at them too long. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission," said Lieutenant Commander Alex Stone from the communications station. His voice was steady, but Kate could hear the fear underneath. Everyone on the bridge knew this moment would change everything for the human race. Kate nodded and straightened her uniform. She had served in Earth's Navy for 23 years, rising through the ranks during humanity's expansion into the solar system. She had commanded ships in the asteroid belt wars and led the defense of Mars colony when pirates tried to raid it, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. "Put it through," she ordered. The view screen flickered and the image of the alien fleet was replaced by something that made several crew members gasp. The being on the screen was tall and thin with pale blue skin that seemed to glow from within. Its eyes were large and dark, completely black without any white showing. When it spoke, its voice came through perfectly clear in English. "I am Ambassador Zexhai of the Valthran Empire," the alien said. Its mouth barely moved when it talked, making the whole thing feel like a nightmare. "We have come to offer Earth membership in our great civilization." Kate stepped forward. "I am Admiral Kate Morrison of the United Earth Space Force. Welcome to our solar system, Ambassador." The alien's expression did not change. "Admiral Morrison, your species has reached a level of development that requires integration into the Empire. We have observed your progress with interest. Your people show promise." "What kind of integration are you talking about?" Kate asked, though she had a feeling she already knew the answer. "Complete integration," Zexhai replied. "Your military forces will be disbanded. Your governments will be replaced by imperial administrators. Your people will be relocated to worlds where they can serve the Empire's needs. This is how it has always been done." Kate felt her blood run cold. "And if we refuse?" For the first time, something like emotion crossed the alien's face. It might have been amusement. "Admiral, in our 3,000 years of expansion, we have integrated over 1,000 different species across 300 star systems. None have ever refused our offer. None would be foolish enough to do so. How long do we have to consider your offer?" Kate asked. 72 hours, Zexhai said. "At the end of that time, we will expect your unconditional surrender. Your leaders will present themselves aboard our flagship to sign the integration documents. Any resistance will be met with immediate and total destruction." The transmission ended and the view screen returned to showing the alien fleet. Kate stared at the golden ships and tried to process what had just happened. In less than 5 minutes, humanity had gone from being alone in the universe to facing extinction or slavery. "Admiral," said Captain John Carter from behind her. Kate turned to see the head of Earth's Special Operations Command walking onto the bridge. His face was grim but determined. "I need to speak with you privately." Kate nodded and followed Carter to her ready room off the bridge. As soon as the door closed behind them, Carter activated a small device that would block any listening devices. "Kate, I've just received emergency orders from President Lisa Hamilton," Carter said. "We're implementing Protocol Black." Kate felt her heart skip a beat. Protocol Black was a theoretical plan that only the highest levels of Earth's government and military knew about. It was based on the assumption that humanity might someday face an enemy so powerful that conventional resistance would be impossible. "John, Protocol Black is just a theory," Kate said. "We don't even know if the systems work." "They work," Carter said quietly. "I've been overseeing the preparations for the last 10 years. We knew this day might come." Kate sat down hard in her chair. "You mean we've been building for this?" "Not just building, Kate, preparing. The deep space installations, the hidden research facilities, the colony ships that supposedly failed. None of it was what the public thought it was." Before Kate could respond, her communication system chimed with an urgent message from Earth. President Hamilton's face appeared on the small screen on her desk. "Admiral Morrison, Captain Carter," the president said. "I'm sure Captain Carter has briefed you on Protocol Black. I want you to know that I have just authorized its full implementation. We have 72 hours to save the human race." "Madam President, what exactly are we dealing with here?" Kate asked. "According to our intelligence, the Valthran Empire controls most of this galaxy," Hamilton replied. They've been expanding for thousands of years, conquering every species they encounter. Their technology is far beyond ours. In a straight fight, we would lose in minutes. Then how do we fight them? Kate asked. President Hamilton's expression was grim. We don't fight them the way they expect us to fight. Dr. Amy Brooks at the Quantum Research Division has been working on something that might help us coordinate our response. And Captain Carter will be activating assets that most people don't even know exist. Kate looked at Carter, who nodded. Kate, what I'm about to tell you cannot leave this room until Protocol Black is fully active. For the past 50 years, ever since we detected the first alien signals, we've been preparing for this moment. The mining operations in the Kuiper Belt, the research stations beyond Pluto, the deep space telescopes, they're all cover stories. Cover for what? Kate asked. Cover for the largest military buildup in human history, Carter said. We've been building ships, weapons, and bases in secret. The alien ships out there are impressive, but they've never faced an enemy that's been preparing specifically to fight them. Kate stared at both of them. How many ships are we talking about? Enough, Carter said. But we need to buy time. The aliens expect us to panic, to argue among ourselves, to waste the 72 hours in political debates. Instead, we're going to use that time to position our forces. President Hamilton leaned forward on the screen. Admiral, I need you to make the aliens believe we're considering their offer. Keep them talking. Keep them confident. Meanwhile, Captain Carter will be waking up systems that have been sleeping for decades. Kate nodded slowly. What about the colonies? Mars, Europa, the asteroid stations. They're already being evacuated to safe locations, Carter said. Locations the aliens don't know about. Kate, humanity is not confined to one world anymore. We've been spreading out in secret for generations. Even if they destroy Earth, the human race will survive. The weight of what they were telling her settled on Kate's shoulders. How long have you known this day would come? We've been preparing for it since I was a child, President Hamilton said. My father worked on the early phases of Protocol Black, his father before him. This has been a multi-generational effort. Kate stood up and walked to the window of her ready room. Outside, she could see the alien fleet hovering like golden daggers pointed at Earth's heart. What do you need me to do? Keep them busy, Carter said. Make them think we're weak and divided. Make them think they've already won. Meanwhile, I'll be activating the Black Fleet. The Black Fleet? Kate asked. Carter smiled for the first time since entering her ready room. You'll see, Admiral. You'll see. President Lisa Hamilton stood before the cameras in the Oval Office and tried to look like a leader who was considering surrender. Behind her calm expression, her mind was racing through the details of Protocol Black. Every word she spoke now would be analyzed by the aliens hovering above Earth. My fellow citizens of Earth and our colonies, she began, we face a situation unlike any in human history. A powerful alien empire has given us an ultimatum. We have less than 48 hours remaining to make our decision. As she spoke, Hamilton knew that Captain John Carter was already deep underground in the Pentagon's most secure bunker, activating systems that had been waiting in silence for decades. She also knew that millions of people were watching her speech, unaware that their survival depended on her ability to convince the aliens that humanity was weak and divided. I want to assure everyone that we are exploring all diplomatic options, Hamilton continued. The words tasted like ash in her mouth, but they were necessary. We are in constant communication with our allies and partners around the world to determine the best path forward. 3,000 miles away, Commander Ryan Kelly stood in what appeared to be a simple mining control room deep inside Ceres, the largest asteroid in the belt between Mars and Jupiter. But the room was far from simple. Hidden behind false walls and disguised control panels was the command center for humanity's most ambitious secret project. Initiate Deep Space Network activation, Kelly said into his headset. Around him, technicians who had been pretending to be asteroid miners for years began powering up systems that had never been tested at full capacity. The first to come online was Station Alpha, hidden inside what everyone thought was a research facility, studying the outer planets. Lieutenant Colonel Sophie Turner watched her screens as the massive doors built into the asteroid's surface began to open for the first time in 30 years. Inside, rows of sleek black ships that had been constructed in absolute secrecy began their startup sequences. Station Alpha reporting all systems green, Turner said over the secure channel. Black Fleet Squadron 1 is ready for deployment. Confirmed, Alpha, Kelly replied. Beta Station, what's your status? Captain Danny White answered from what the public believed was a deep space telescope array beyond Neptune. Beta Station online, Commander. Squadron 2 is powering up now. These ships are beautiful, sir. The aliens won't see them coming. Kelly smiled grimly. The Black Fleet had been designed by the brightest minds in human engineering with one specific purpose: to fight an enemy with superior technology. While the alien ships were large and powerful, they were also designed for intimidation and conventional warfare. The Black Fleet ships were smaller, faster, and completely invisible to most sensors. Back on Earth, Dr. Amy Brooks was making the final adjustments to humanity's greatest communication breakthrough. The Quantum Research Division had been working on instantaneous communication across any distance for 20 years. Now, as she activated the network, she could reach every human colony scattered across 50 star systems. Proxima Base, this is Dr. Brooks on Earth, she said into her microphone.
Do you copy?
The response came back immediately, with no delay despite the 4 light years between them. Earth Base, this is Colonel Lisa Parker at Proxima. We've been waiting for this call. All colonial defense forces are standing by. Brooks felt a surge of excitement. The quantum network was working perfectly. Lisa, activate Protocol Black at all colonial sites. The aliens think we're just one world, but they're about to learn otherwise. Understood, Amy, Parker replied. We've got over 200 ships here that don't officially exist. The Empire is about to get a very unpleasant surprise. Similar conversations were happening across the galaxy as human colonies that the public thought were small research outposts revealed their true nature. On Kepler 442b, Colonel Steve Johnson was activating a fleet of warships disguised as cargo vessels. On Wolf 359, Captain Jenny Davis was bringing online weapon platforms that had been hidden inside fake mining equipment. Meanwhile, Captain Carter was deep in his underground bunker, watching as decades of secret preparation finally came together. On his main screen, he could see status reports from installations across the solar system that most people had never heard of. Titan Base reporting ready, came the voice of Colonel Ben Parker. Mass driver network is fully charged and targeting solutions are locked in. Carter nodded. The mass driver network was perhaps their most devastating surprise. Hidden magnetic accelerators built into moons and asteroids could launch projectiles at incredible speeds. The aliens would never expect an attack from what appeared to be empty space. Excellent, Ben, Carter replied. Remember, we need to wait until they're in position. Let them think they're safe. On the surface, President Hamilton was wrapping up her speech. I want to assure everyone that whatever decision we make, it will be made with the best interests of humanity in mind. We will not act rashly, but we will act decisively when the time comes. As the cameras turned off, Hamilton's aide handed her a secure phone. Carter's voice came through clearly. Madam President, all systems are online. We have over 300 ships ready for deployment. Mass drivers at 17 locations and full communication with every human colony. The aliens think they're facing a primitive single-world species. They have no idea what's coming. Hamilton looked out the window at the alien ships hovering above Washington. John, are you sure we can win this? Honestly, no, Carter admitted. But I'm sure we can make them pay a price they never expected. And even if they destroy Earth, humanity will survive. We've made sure of that. Dr. Brooks's voice joined the conversation through the quantum link. Madam President, I'm receiving reports from all colonial sites. Every human settlement in the galaxy is ready to fight. We're not just defending Earth anymore. We're defending the entire human species. Commander Kelly's voice came through from Ceres. All Black Fleet squadrons report ready. The aliens are maintaining their position above Earth, probably waiting for us to panic. They're about to learn that humans don't panic. We plan. Hamilton felt a surge of pride in her species. For 3 generations, humanity had been preparing for this moment. While other civilizations had grown complacent, humans had looked at the stars and known that someday they would face a threat from the darkness. And they had prepared. All stations, this is President Hamilton, she said into the secure channel. In approximately 40 hours, we will show the Velthran Empire what happens when you threaten humanity. They demanded that Earth bow down. Instead, they're going to face the Black Fleet. And they're going to learn that humans don't surrender. Across the solar system and beyond, in hidden bases and disguised installations, thousands of men and women who had spent their lives preparing for this moment began their final preparations. The aliens thought they had already won. They were about to discover just how wrong they were. President Lisa Hamilton walked slowly to the podium in the United Nations General Assembly Hall, her face showing the weight of defeat. Behind her, the flags of every Earth nation hung motionless in the still air. Before her, cameras broadcast to every corner of the world and beyond to the golden ships waiting in orbit. "Citizens of Earth," she began, her voice heavy with what sounded like resignation. "After careful consideration and consultation with world leaders, we have reached our decision regarding the Velthran Empire's ultimatum." High above the planet, Ambassador Zexhai watched the broadcast from the bridge of the Imperial flagship. Around him, Velthran officers observed with the satisfaction of another easy conquest. In 3,000 years of expansion, this moment had played out exactly the same way on hundreds of worlds. "We cannot stand against the overwhelming power of the Empire," Hamilton continued. "Therefore, I am announcing humanity's unconditional surrender to the Velthran Empire. We ask only that our people be treated with mercy during the integration process." Zexhai nodded to his fleet commander. "Begin orbital positioning for the occupation. Deploy the integration teams to the major population centers. This world will be fully processed within one solar rotation." The 30 golden ships began moving into lower orbit, their massive hulls gleaming as they took positions over Earth's major cities. To any observer, it looked like the final moments of human independence. But deep in space, hidden among asteroids and behind the dark side of moons, hundreds of sensors were tracking every movement of the alien fleet. Admiral Kate Morrison sat in her command chair aboard the UES Defiance, watching the alien ships move into perfect position. Her communications officer counted down the seconds until the predetermined moment. "All Black Fleet units, this is Admiral Morrison," she said into her headset. "Operation Freedom begins in 60 seconds. Remember, they think we're beaten. Show them how wrong they are." Lieutenant Colonel Sophie Turner gripped the arms of her command chair as Station Alpha's massive doors finished opening. Around her, 30 sleek black ships powered up their engines for the first time in decades of waiting. These vessels bore no resemblance to humanity's known ships. They were angular and dark, designed to be invisible ghosts in the void of space. "Black Squadron 1, this is Turner," she said. "Execute attack pattern Delta. Target the command ship's sensor arrays first. Make them blind before they know we're here." "Copy that, Colonel," replied Captain Rick Stone from the lead fighter. It's been an honor waiting for this moment. The black ships launched from their hidden station like shadows given life. Their engines produced no visible flame and their hulls absorbed sensor waves instead of reflecting them. To the Velthran fleet, they simply did not exist until it was too late. Commander Ryan Kelly watched his tactical display as squadrons from 17 different hidden stations began moving toward their targets. "Mass Driver Network, this is Kelly. You are authorized to fire on my mark." Colonel Ben Parker's voice crackled over the comm from his hidden position on Titan. "Understood, Commander. Tungsten rods are loaded and ready. Target acquisition locked on the flagship's main reactor." "Dr. Brooks, what's the status on colonial forces?" Kelly asked. Amy Brooks's voice came through the quantum link crystal clear despite the vast distances involved. "All colonial fleets report ready, Ryan. We've got ships moving in from 12 different star systems. The aliens are about to discover that Earth was never alone." The first strike came without warning. Captain Rick Stone's squadron appeared on the Velthran sensors for exactly 3 seconds before their missiles impacted the command ship's sensor dome. The explosion sent fragments spinning into space as the mighty vessel shuddered from the unexpected attack. "What was that?" Zexhai demanded, his calm composure cracking for the first time. "Where did those ships come from?" His sensor officer was frantically working his controls. "Ambassador, I'm detecting multiple contacts appearing throughout the system. They weren't there moments ago." "Impossible," Zexhai snapped. "Our sensors can detect any ship technology in this galaxy." That's when the second wave hit. Captain Danny White led Black Squadron 2 in a coordinated strike against 3 Velthran destroyers. The alien ships, designed for intimidation and overwhelming firepower, found themselves under attack by fast-moving targets that appeared and disappeared like ghosts. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," the Velthran fleet commander ordered. "Return fire on those attack craft." But the golden ships were massive and slow compared to the darting black fighters. Their weapons, designed to destroy large targets, couldn't track the smaller human vessels. Worse, every time they fired, the humans seemed to know exactly where the shots would go. Colonel Parker's voice cut through the comm chatter. "Mass drivers firing now." From hidden installations throughout the solar system, magnetic accelerators launched tungsten rods the size of telephone poles at 15% the speed of light. The projectiles were too small and too fast for the alien point defense systems to stop. They punched through the Velthran shields like they weren't there, and tore massive holes in the golden hulls. The flagship rocked as 3 rods slammed into its lower decks. Emergency alarms began wailing as atmosphere vented into space. HFY was thrown from his command chair as his mighty vessel listed to one side. "Damage report," he shouted. "Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. His damage control officer reported. "Reactor containment is holding, but we've lost primary sensors and main communications." That's when Admiral Morrison made her appearance. The UES Defiance and her escort ship seemed to materialize from empty space as they dropped their stealth fields. But these were not the primitive vessels the Empire had observed before. These ships bristled with weapons that no Velthran database had ever catalogued. "Attention Velthran fleet," Morrison broadcast on all frequencies. "This is Admiral Kate Morrison of the Earth Defense Force. You are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender now and we will allow you to leave our system." HFY stared at the tactical display in disbelief. Where moments ago there had been empty space, now over 200 human ships surrounded his fleet. His 30 vessels, which had seemed so overwhelming, were suddenly the ones at a disadvantage. "This is impossible," he whispered. "Where did all these ships come from?" His answer came from Dr. Brooks, who had hacked into their communication system. "Ambassador, you made a mistake. You assumed we were a single-world species. You never bothered to look for our colonies. You never imagined we might have been preparing for this day. We've been building ships and bases for 50 years, waiting for someone like you to show up. More human ships were arriving every minute, dropping out of hyperspace as the colonial fleets reached Earth. Captain Lisa Parker led a squadron from Proxima Centauri. Colonel Steve Johnson brought his forces from Kepler 442b. From dozens of star systems, humanity's hidden strength revealed itself. The Velthran fleet found itself completely surrounded by an enemy they had dismissed as primitive. Their sensors, designed to track known ship types, were useless against human stealth technology. Their weapons, meant to destroy large, slow targets, couldn't hit the darting fighters that swarmed around them like angry insects. "Ambassador," Morrison's voice came again. "You have 30 seconds to respond. Surrender or face destruction. Your choice." HFY looked around his damaged bridge and realized that everything the Empire thought it knew about warfare was about to change. Ambassador HFY stood among the wreckage of his command bridge and made the only choice he could. "We surrender," he broadcast to the human fleet surrounding him. The words felt like poison in his mouth. In 3,000 years of Imperial expansion, no Velthran commander had ever spoken those words. Admiral Kate Morrison's response was swift but not merciful. "Your surrender is accepted. You have 1 hour to evacuate your ships before we destroy them. Any attempt to send communications beyond this system will result in immediate destruction of your flagship." But HFY's surrender was already too late to contain what was happening. The quantum communication network that Dr. Amy Brooks had perfected was not just connecting human colonies. It was also intercepting and monitoring every signal the Velthran Empire sent across the galaxy. "Admiral Morrison, this is Dr. Brooks," came the scientist's voice over the secure channel. "I'm detecting massive Imperial fleet movements from 17 different sectors. They're mobilizing everything they have. This is no longer just about Earth." Captain John Carter joined the conversation from his command bunker. "The Empire can't afford to let word of their defeat spread. If other species learn that humans fought back successfully, it could inspire rebellions across their entire territory." Morrison studied the tactical displays showing human and Velthran positions throughout the solar system. "How long before their reinforcements arrive?" "Based on their communication patterns, I estimate 6 hours for the nearest Imperial battle group," Dr. Brooks replied. "But John is right. They're not coming just to retake Earth. They're coming to make sure no one survives to tell the story of what happened here." The truth of the situation became clear to Morrison. This was no longer a battle for Earth's freedom. This was a war for the survival of humanity itself. The Empire would throw everything they had at the human colonies to prevent other species from learning that resistance was possible. Commander Ryan Kelly's voice crackled through from his hidden command post. "Admiral, we're receiving reports from our colonies. Imperial fleets are moving against Proxima Centauri. Kepler 442b and Wolf 359. They're not just attacking military targets. They're targeting the civilian populations. Morrison felt a cold anger building in her chest. How many people? Over 2 million humans in the path of the Imperial advance, Kelly replied. They're not trying to conquer these worlds anymore. They want to eliminate every human in the galaxy. Captain Sarah Jenkins sat in the command chair of the UES Shadow, one of the Black Fleet's most advanced stealth destroyers. Her ship was currently invisible to all known sensors, drifting in empty space between star systems where Imperial supply convoys traveled. Shadow to command. She transmitted through the quantum link. I'm tracking a convoy of 12 Imperial supply ships heading toward the Proxima system. Request permission to intercept. Permission granted, Captain, Morrison replied. Show them that nowhere in their territory is safe from human retaliation. Jenkins smiled grimly. Understood, Admiral. Time to remind the Empire that humans fight back. The UES Shadow moved like a ghost among the stars. Her crew of 30 had trained for years for missions like this one. Unlike the massive Imperial vessels, the Shadow was built for hit-and-run attacks. She carried enough firepower to cripple ships 10 times her size, and her stealth systems made her nearly impossible to detect. Target the lead supply ship first, Jenkins ordered. Quantum torpedoes, maximum yield. Let's make sure they remember this convoy for a very long time. The attack came without warning. The Imperial supply ships detected the incoming torpedoes for less than 2 seconds before the explosions tore through their hulls. The lead vessel broke apart in a brilliant flash of light that could be seen for millions of miles. Meanwhile, on Valethros Prime, the capital world of the Empire, Emperor Kethmor the Eternal was learning about the disaster at Earth. For the first time in his 3,000-year reign, he was facing a species that had not only refused to surrender, but had inflicted serious damage on his forces. How many ships did we lose? He demanded of his military advisors. 17 vessels destroyed, 8 more severely damaged, replied Fleet Admiral Yendar. The humans had technology we've never encountered before. Their stealth systems are beyond anything in our databases. Emperor Kethmor stood before the massive window of his throne room, looking out at the golden spires of his capital city. How is this possible? Our intelligence reports indicated they were a primitive single-world species. The reports were wrong, Your Majesty, Yendar admitted. They've been preparing for our arrival for decades. They have colonies and military installations throughout their region of space. Worse, their resistance is inspiring other conquered species to rebel. That last piece of information made the Emperor's blood run cold. What do you mean, inspiring others? 3 species in the Outer Rim have declared independence in the last 6 hours, Yendar reported. The Kalari, the Zephyrians, and the Makali have all announced they will no longer submit to Imperial rule. They're calling the humans their inspiration. Emperor Kethmor turned away from the window. This cannot be allowed to continue. If word spreads that we can be defeated, the entire Empire could collapse. Prepare the planet killers, Yendar's face went pale. The planet killers were weapons of last resort, designed to crack worlds apart when all other options had failed. They had only been used 3 times in Imperial history. Your Majesty, are you certain? The planet killers will destroy entire star systems. There will be no survivors. That is the point, the Emperor replied coldly. If we cannot rule the humans, then no one will. And their destruction will serve as an example to any other species that thinks resistance is possible. Back in the solar system, Dr. Brooks was monitoring Imperial communications when she detected the authorization codes for the planet killer deployment. Her hand shook as she realized what she was seeing. All stations, priority alert, she broadcast through the quantum network. The Empire is deploying planet killer weapons. Estimated time to target, 18 hours for Earth, 24 hours for Proxima Centauri. Admiral Morrison felt the weight of the moment settle on her shoulders. All colonial forces, this is Morrison. Begin immediate evacuation of civilian populations. We're no longer fighting just for our freedom. We're fighting for our species' survival. Captain Carter's voice cut through the communications. Admiral, if they're willing to use planet killers, then we need to hit them where it hurts most. We need to strike at Valethros Prime itself. That's impossible, John, Morrison replied. It's the most heavily defended world in the galaxy. Maybe, Carter said. But it's also where their Emperor lives. And according to our intelligence, the Emperor has never actually fought in any of his wars. He's spent 3,000 years sending others to die for his empire, while he stayed safe on his golden throne. Dr. Brooks's voice joined the conversation. I've been analyzing their command structure through the quantum intercepts. If we can take out their central command on Velthros Prime, their entire fleet coordination will collapse. Without centralized control, their forces will be vulnerable. Morrison looked at the tactical display showing the vast distances involved. It would be a suicide mission. Even if we could get through their defenses, we'd never make it home. Admiral, came the voice of Colonel Ben Parker from Titan Base. With respect, none of us are going home if those planet killers reach their targets. At least this way, we go down fighting and maybe save some of our people. Around the solar system and across the human colonies, the same realization was settling in. The Empire had made their choice. They would rather destroy humanity completely than risk other species learning that rebellion was possible. Morrison made her decision. All available ships prepare for Operation Lazarus. We're taking the war to Velthros Prime. If they want to destroy us, they'll have to do it while we're tearing their empire apart. The final battle for humanity's survival was about to begin. Admiral Kate Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance as her fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Velthros system. Before them lay the most heavily defended world in the galaxy, surrounded by over 5,000 Imperial warships arranged in perfect defensive formations. Admiral, I'm counting exactly 5,237 enemy vessels, reported her tactical officer. We have 412 ships in our combined fleet. Morrison nodded grimly. The odds were impossible, but that had never stopped humanity before. Behind her were ships from every human colony in the galaxy, crews who had left their homes knowing they would never return. Captain John Carter stood beside her, commanding the Special Forces teams that would attempt to reach the planet's surface. Dr. Brooks, what's the status on the quantum network? Morrison asked. Amy Brooks's voice came through crystal clear despite the vast distance. All systems operational, Admiral. I'm monitoring Imperial communications across their entire empire. The rebellions are spreading faster than they can contain them. It was true. Word of humanity's resistance had traveled to every corner of the galaxy through the Empire's own communication networks. Species that had been enslaved for centuries were rising up, demanding their freedom. The Kalari had destroyed their Imperial overseers. The Zephyrians had seized control of their homeworld. Dozens of other species were following their example. Commander Kelly, are the stealth ships in position? Morrison asked. Ryan Kelly's voice crackled through from his command vessel hidden in an asteroid field. Affirmative, Admiral. 300 stealth ships are positioned around the planet. When you begin your attack, we'll hit their command centers from behind. Morrison looked at the massive golden fleet protecting Velthros Prime. Each ship was larger than anything humanity had built, armed with weapons that could destroy entire cities. But humanity had learned something important in their battles with the Empire. Size and power meant nothing if you couldn't hit your target. All ships. This is Admiral Morrison, she broadcast to the human fleet. Remember, we're not here to conquer this world. We're here to prove that the Empire can be defeated. Every species in the galaxy is watching. Show them that freedom is worth fighting for. The battle began with humanity's signature move. The impossible attack from an unexpected direction. Captain Sarah Jenkins led a squadron of Black Fleet destroyers straight through the center of the Imperial formation, their stealth systems making them nearly invisible until they opened fire. The first wave of quantum torpedoes struck the Imperial flagship before its crew even realized they were under attack. The massive golden vessel shuddered as explosions tore through its hull, but it was so large that even devastating damage barely slowed it down. All ships, attack pattern Omega, Morrison ordered. Hit them fast, hit them hard, and don't give them time to coordinate their response. The human fleet scattered like a swarm of angry bees, each ship attacking different targets with weapons designed to punch through Imperial shields. The Vilthron commanders, used to facing enemies who fought in neat formations, found themselves trying to track hundreds of individual targets moving in seemingly random patterns. Captain Carter's voice cut through the battle chatter. Admiral, the stealth teams are away. We're making our run for the planet now. 20 small ships, invisible to Imperial sensors, were racing toward Velthros Prime, while the main fleet kept the enemy occupied. Each carried a team of human Special Forces soldiers whose mission was simple: reach the Imperial Palace and prove that nowhere was safe from human determination. On the planet's surface, Emperor Kethmore the Eternal watched the battle from his golden throne room. For 3,000 years he had ruled the galaxy from this palace, never once facing a direct threat to his power. The sight of human ships fighting desperately against his vast fleet should have been amusing, but something about their determination filled him with unease. "How are they penetrating our defenses?" he demanded of Fleet Admiral Yendar. "Their tactics are completely unpredictable, Your Majesty," Yendar replied. "They fight like they have nothing to lose. Our ships are designed to fight conventional battles, not swarms of individual attackers." The Emperor stood and walked to his massive window overlooking the capital city. "No matter. We have more ships than they could possibly destroy. Eventually they will run out of ammunition and we will crush them." But even as he spoke, explosions began appearing around the planet as Commander Kelly's hidden ships revealed themselves. The stealth vessels had been waiting in the planet's shadow, and now they struck at the orbital defense platforms that protected the capital. "Impossible," Yendar shouted. "Where did those ships come from?" The answer came from Captain Danny White, whose stealth destroyer had just destroyed the main communication array. "Surprise, Admiral. Humans don't just attack from one direction." The Imperial defense began to crumble as human ships attacked from every angle. The Valthran vessels, designed for intimidation and overwhelming firepower, found themselves outmaneuvered by smaller, faster enemies who refused to fight by conventional rules. Captain Carter's team reached the planet's atmosphere and began their descent toward the Imperial Palace. Their small ships, disguised as debris from the space battle, slipped past the planetary defenses unnoticed. "Teams Alpha through Delta, prepare for insertion," Carter ordered. "Remember, our target is the Emperor himself. The galaxy needs to see that he's not the untouchable ruler he pretends to be." The Special Forces soldiers dropped from their ships in armored suits, using stealth technology to avoid the palace sensors. They moved through the city like ghosts, past golden towers and crystalline gardens that had never known the touch of war. When they reached the Imperial Palace, they found something unexpected. The Emperor's personal guards, who had never faced a real battle, fled rather than fight against the determined humans. Emperor Kethmore the Eternal, who had conquered 1,000 worlds through fear and intimidation, found himself alone in his throne room as human soldiers burst through his doors. Carter removed his helmet and looked at the being who had demanded Earth's surrender. The Emperor was tall and imposing on his golden throne, but Carter could see the fear in his dark eyes. "Your Majesty," Carter said, "I am Captain John Carter of the Earth Defense Force. You demanded that humanity bow down. We have a different response." The Emperor tried to maintain his composure. "You cannot hope to hold this world. My fleets will destroy you." "Your fleets are losing," Carter replied. "And more importantly, the galaxy is watching. Right now, Dr. Brooks is broadcasting this conversation to every species in your empire. They're seeing that the great Emperor Kethmore is just another being who can be defeated." It was true. Through the quantum network, Amy Brooks was transmitting the confrontation to every world in the galaxy. Billions of beings who had lived in fear of the Empire were seeing their supposed master cowering before human soldiers. Admiral Morrison's voice came through Carter's communicator. "John, the Imperial fleet is retreating. I repeat, they're pulling back. We've broken their command structure." Carter smiled at the Emperor. "Do you hear that, Your Majesty? Your empire is falling apart. Species across the galaxy are declaring their independence. The age of the Valthran Empire is over." Emperor Kethmore slumped on his throne as the reality of his situation became clear. His empire, built on 3,000 years of conquest and intimidation, was crumbling because one species had refused to surrender. "What do you want?" he asked quietly. "We want you to order the withdrawal of all Imperial forces from human space," Carter replied. "We want you to announce to the galaxy that the Empire will no longer force species to join against their will. And we want you to remember that humanity bows to no one." 6 months later, Admiral Morrison stood on the observation deck of Luna Base, watching as ships from dozens of different species arrived for the first meeting of the Free Worlds Alliance. The Valthran Empire had not completely collapsed, but it was no longer the terrifying force it had once been. Species after species had declared independence, and the Emperor had been forced to accept their decisions. "Admiral," said Dr. Brooks, joining her at the window, "we just received word from the Proxima colony. They're reporting first contact with 3 more species who want to join the Alliance. It seems our reputation is spreading." Morrison smiled. "The Empire demanded that Earth bow down. Instead, we showed the galaxy what freedom looks like, not bad for a primitive single-world species. Outside the window, the ships of 100 different worlds flew together as equals, united not by conquest but by choice. Humanity had not just saved themselves from slavery, they had given the galaxy hope that even the mightiest empire could be defeated by those brave enough to stand up and fight back. The Black Fleet had answered the Empire's demand, and the galaxy would never be the same.